Alright, it's time to do another prediction video. We have the Fight Night Bermudez versus Korean Zombie, or Fight Night Houston. The number on it is 104. So, let's get the predictions here. The main event's actually pretty good, but the rest of the card is leaving something heavily to be desired. But, we'll make do with it what we can, I suppose. Dan Jolly versus Khalil Roundtree. I cannot bring myself to pick Roundtree with the gaping hole that is his technical game everywhere. Like, a very athletic guy, very good prospect in the long run, but just nope. Just a big pile of no right now. Can't defend a takedown. Grappling is terrible. Jolly's a pretty athletic guy himself. He's better, although he did lose his UFC debut to Misha Serkinov. No shame there. Jolly via submission. Nico Price versus Alex Morono. I'm taking Nico Price via submission after he hurts him with some strikes and then puts him on the ground. Mind you, my history of picking Morono fights is terrible. He's actually 2-0 in the UFC in 2 fights that I still do not know if I would pick him against Kyle Noak or against James Muntasri. Muntasri maybe, because Muntasri is... He doesn't have the ability to go deep in fights. And Morono, generally a pretty tough guy, he could drag you there. You know, I like Morono's tenacity. I like his mental toughness. I like his durability. I just don't like anything about his technical game. Price, pretty athletic guy. I like elements of his technical game. I think we may be overhyping him a little bit after beating Brandon Thatch just because how bad Thatch has been. But I think he's the prospect here to look out for. Moving on. This is a bit of a weird one just on its placement on the card. We have Tisha Torres versus Beck Rollins. I mean, Torres is riding a very large winning streak. It's got 4 here. Jones Liebarger, Angela Hill, Angela McGannon, and Felice Herrick. You know, for her to be at this point in the card is kind of weird, and the fight itself is kind of weird because, of course, you've got a rematch from the Ultimate Fighter house between the two that Torres won. Rollins, I think, is the more altered fighter in terms of stylistic stylings, but I think her strengths are still the same. Her weaknesses are still the same. She's a big strawweight who can kind of do a little bit of everything. And Torres is a somewhat small strawweight, maybe even an atomweight, who is very athletic, very dexterous, very quick, very fast. Not a lot of punching, stopping power, but otherwise a very solid fighter who's training at ATT and also now with Raquel Pennington in Colorado, which I think should lead to a better product. I think she'll be able to handle some of the problems that she's had in the past with the clinch game and the pressure game and be a little bit more strong in that regards. And I think that makes her even a more deadly matchup for Beck Rollins. I'm going with Torres by decision because Rollins is tough, and then you also have the fact that we touched on the fact that she doesn't really have a tremendous amount of stopping power in the fact that she's never stopped an opponent. Ricardo Lucas Ramos versus Michinori Tanaka by decision. I think Ramos is a late-minute replacement. I swear this was supposed to be someone else. Just looking here real quick. Doesn't say. It does not say on the Wikipedia page. But I don't know. It feels like a late replacement fight. Moving on up. Angela Hill. I think I skipped one. Yeah, I did. Chaz Kelly versus Chris Gutzmacher and Adam Milstead versus Curtis Blades. Going with decisions for Chaz Kelly and for Curtis Blades. Skelly, he really is kind of like, ironically, a guy who fought Darren Elkins in a case of a guy who fought someone who was better at doing what he did to himself. And in this case, it's kind of the same. I mean, Gutzmacher, wrestler, reasonably athletic guy. Not a tremendously deep toolkit, though. Skelly should be able to clinch with him, take him down, do Chaz Skelly things. Maybe sub him, maybe decision. Go with submission. But might change to sub at some point in the near future. Curtis Blades, really good wrestler, really good... also, you got to remember, that loss to Francis Ngannou, with Ngannou absolutely dominating Anthony Hamilton, and now Andrei Arlovski, that's looking pretty good right now. For heavyweight, he's a fantastic wrestler. His stand-up is powerful, reasonably fast for a heavyweight, but definitely lacks on the technical edges. We'll see if he can do something about that in the long run. Moving on up, we have Jessica Andrade versus Angela Hill. This is the main card. I'm going with Jessica Andrade, first round submission. The thing here with this is, I think Angela Hill has a lot of promise as a fighter, which has been shown with her really quite fantastic run through Invicta. I just think that a lot of her game still relies on being tremendously athletic, being able to beat you at any distance, and being a little bit bigger. And a lot of that is taken away with Andrade, who's, for a first round and probably a second round, very explosive, very big at strawweight, quite deep in the technical game, good boxer, good submission game, very powerful. I see her at some point getting Hill down and submitting her on the ground, where I think Hill still has some work to do. But I mean, these are two of the bigger prospects in the strawweight division who maybe someday can really compete for a title. The aforementioned Anthony Hamilton against Marcel Fortuna. I do not know enough about Fortuna to really say. I'm going with Hamilton as a known commodity, but at the same time, as a known commodity, he's been known to lose, and I'm not been very shaky on picking his fights. I thought he would beat Shamil Abdurakhimov, for example. He lost that fight. I thought he would beat Daniel Omielanchuk. Or I thought he would lose to Daniel Omielanchuk. He won that fight. I thought he would lose to Damian Grosky. He won that matchup. So outside of the Ngannou fight, I've had really rough time picking his fights. So take it for what you will. Biggest mismatch of the night, in my opinion, Ovince St. Preux versus Volkan Ozdemir. Going with Ovince St. Preux to win a decision. The only reason I'm saying decision is because after losses, OSP tends to become somewhat conservative in his game plans and sort of decision happy. I think we'll see that kind of performance here. He's just, as much as his technical game is not tremendously deep, it is made up for by being a fantastic athlete at the division. Volkan is a hard hitter, not untechnical. Actually, I do like his future in the 205 division. I just think this is a little bit case of too much too soon. Moving on to Abel Trujillo versus James Vick. I'm taking Trujillo by the first round stoppage. I'm not a huge Trujillo fan. He's a front runner. Technical skills are okay. Athleticism is quite good, but he has domestic violence issues outside of the octagon. He has cardio issues. He has mental toughness issues. But James Vick, fantastic run against guys making their UFC debuts. Not great against people who have been there, kind of comfortable. Really did not look good against Daniil Dariush. I see that probably continuing here. Alexa Grasso, Felix Herring. This is a setup fight, I think, for Grasso to take. She'll win a decision. Would not be surprised to see her finish Herring, but Herring is reasonably technical everywhere and quite athletic, quite tough physically. Mentally, she does tend to get behind the 8-ball and kind of shut down. I just don't think that's going to be enough here. Also, Grasso did not finish Heather Jo Clark, which is, I mean, she's a lesser version of what Herring brings to the table. Chan Sung Jung, Dennis Bermudez. Okay, this is the most interesting fight of the night and probably the biggest impacting one. In Jung, we have a defensively liable striker, oddly efficient submission game, difficult to take down, difficult to control, deceptively good striker offensively, even though we talked about the defense being bad. Bermudez, we have a defensively bad striker and a submission bad defense guy, really, who tends to make fights even harder for himself. Very good wrestler for the division. Very athletic, big, strong, powerful, hits really hard. Definitely could see Bermudez knocking out Chan Sung Jung. I could see Chan Sung Jung submitting Bermudez. The X factor here is that we are looking at a Korean zombie coming off of military service. Traditionally, that's a downfall for fighters. We've seen this with Russians and Koreans in the past who have had to go through periods of military service as well as Israelis. Going with Bermudez here to win by a TKO. Jung is so defensively deficient that I could see him getting clipped and put down or pounded on the ground, that type of thing. But honestly, this is a fight that has a lot of question marks on it. You've got a fighter returning from a long layoff. There's always questions with that. You have two fighters who, frankly, are questionable at the best of times in terms of what the hell is wrong with them. We'll go Bermudez, but honestly, this could go really quite anywhere. Just throwing out some betting odds thoughts that I had. The odd one was that, where is it? Angela Hill is a massive underdog, which is a little confusing, given that I think that's not, as much as I think that fight's going to be over reasonably quickly just because of the styles present, it's a good fight, so it's surprising to see her as far down. She's not the biggest underdog in the card where I'm looking. That would be Beck Rollins, which makes a level of sense. Dan Jolly is an underdog against Khalil Roundtree. Interesting. So that's my brief betting odds thing. I have always been under the impression that you do not bet heavily on MMA, just in general. It's too unpredictable. Things can happen, and frankly, there's a lack of particular structure that leads to competitive fights that you can really make great money off of. Generally speaking, a big underdog is a big underdog for a reason. That's all. Usual links on the down below. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's a free card, even if it's not very good. I do hope that we're going to see a little bit more stacking of these. Next card up we have is Durand and Holm, which to me is still a very weird fight. But not fight, but card, main event. We'll talk about that more when we get there. In the meantime, enjoy the lovely political situation that is the United States of America right now with good old President Trump. And that's about it, really. Just hoping to make it through it. I'll talk to you guys later.